Here it is, the Bakotunes podcast with mattomunoz. Audio brought to you by Chain Cone Styles.
Greetings, Bakotunes listeners. We are back with a new episode and a special musical one at that with my guest singer-songwriter Celeigh Chapman. So where do I start? I was first introduced to Celeih's music as an entertainment writer for the Bakersfield, California newspaper in a past life. Now, if I still had all the boxes of rough CD demos I had stacked up around my old desk from artists looking for reviews, I could have filled a storage locker. There was plenty of rock, rap, and of course country, and all claiming to be inspired by the twang of the Bakersfield Sound. You know, Merle Haggard, Buck Owens, Billy Mize, Red Simpson, and the like. One of the things that struck me about Celeih's music was just how un-Bakersfield, yet truly Bakersfield she was. Yes, she was from Bakersfield, born and raised, but unlike the other artists pushing the Bakersfield Sound aesthetic as the foundation of their art, it was more of a look than an actual sound in their music and lyrics. Celeih's music was different. Her music was not just good, it was really good. So good that I was shocked I hadn't heard of her before. At the time of our first interview, she just released her second EP, The Winner, but prior to that had graduated from USC Music School, had her song featured on a soundtrack with Jacob Dylan, and worked in the LA indie club circuit with a rotating cast of musicians. I've kept up with Celeih's career over the years, and to no surprise, her music continues to get better with each release. Yes, there's the authentic Bakersfield sound, but a lot of classic West Coast Laurel Canyon country cool weaved in. Together with longtime collaborator and friend John Spiker of Tenacious D in her camp and Joshua Ray Gooch from Shania Twain's band, to name a few, her latest EP release titled Easy Now is her best yet. We'll share some of those tracks and more throughout the episode, along with stories from her life as an artist. I really think you're going to dig this. Straight out of the smoky, beer-soaked honky-tonks of Bakersfield, it's Celeigh Chapman here on the Bakotunes podcast. So Celeigh Chapman, you know, when I was on my way over here from work, for some reason, there's always some sort of like melody that runs through my head when I think of people's names, and I always attach them to a song. So do you want to hear what your melody was?
Oh, yes, of course. For better or for worse, yes.
See if you recognize it. This is an old one. Celeigh Chapman, Queen of the Wild Frontier.
It's my theme song and Netflix show is dropping next week now, so that's great. That's exactly what I want to hear.
Well, if they ever do a Davy Crockett reboot, they should cast you in it, so then they can sing that.
I'm down at the Beverly Hillbillies, but I'm down for it.
Okay, so where are you at right now, right at this moment?
So I am in Los Angeles, California, right here at this moment, and enjoying the sun. It's probably a little cooler here than it is in Bakersfield, where you're at, but not by much, by much these days.
Well, so. It's triple digits today, first day of summer.
Oh boy, yeah.
What is it over there? It's got to be double digits, right?
Yeah, just double. We haven't broken the triple digits quite yet for summer, but just a beautiful day in Los Angeles here.
You know, full disclosure for all the listeners, I've interviewed Celeigh over the years a few times. I think 2 or 3 times when I was at the Bakersfield Californian. So I've followed your career, but we want to kind of get our Bakotunes podcast listeners caught up. You're originally from East Bakersfield, California. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, very specific, but yeah, I'm an East Sider for sure.
Yeah, East Side. Yeah, and that's actually where I'm recording from right now, so I'm on your home turf.
Nice.
And how long have you been in
Wave to my parents.
Oh, yeah. So do your parents still live over here in East Bakersfield?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're still there, East Bakersfield.
Right.
They're still there, and a lot of my family is still over there, too. So, hello to my friends and family on the East Side.
Yeah, home is home. Home is home. But yeah, I mean, Bakersfield, it's so big now. I mean, how long have you been living in LA now?
I was just thinking about this the other day, and, I came out here for college to go to, the USC Music School. So it's been, over 15 years now that LA has, sort of been my second home, which is crazy to even think about because, when Bakersfield is just a strong part of me. And again, my parents are still there and my cousins are still there. And so when I go back there, it doesn't seem like I've been gone for quite as long, but yeah, when I actually wrap my head around it, it's been a decent chunk of time that I've been here in LA, sort of kicking the tires on music.
Well, I mean, when you think about the commute from Bakersfield to LA, pretty much any section of LA, but just as long as you get into like the LA city limits, that commute is about a regular commute from one side of LA to the next, right? I mean, everything's at least 90 minutes.
Oh, 100%. I would gladly do up and back to Bakersfield in one day than I would sometimes the slog of going from east to west at 5 o'clock on a Friday. So I would gladly do that. There's also a lot of nostalgia, I think, baked into the, going over the grapevine and then dropping down in and, seeing the farmland. And, my grandpa was a farmer and, there's just a lot of great memories to that drive. So, but yeah, from a time perspective, it feels a lot closer than some parts of Los Angeles at times.
So you're from the East Bakersfield side. So you went to East High. When did you graduate from East High?
I graduated in 2003 is when I graduated there. So
so you just went straight to USC? Did you go to Cal State Bakersfield or Bakersfield College or anything like that? Or you went straight to USC?
No, I actually went to UC Santa Barbara for a year. I've had, there was a little bit of a hiccup mix-up in my sending over my transcripts and stuff, and the music program for USC was just so small that I had applied. And they said, we would love to have you, but, you got to come in the next, fall or the next round. And so I went to UC Santa Barbara for a year and then went over to USC music school.
What was your concentration as a music major?
So at USC, my full degree is a bachelor's of music in music industry with an emphasis in jazz voice. And a minor in communication and entertainment. So I was definitely not the slacker. I was definitely taking all the classes and, putting in all the time and trying to learn as much as I could to better my situation in music and in the industry and doing it as a career. I think a lot of that has to do with my Bakersfield roots in the sense that my dad is such a hard worker. He, still owns a pharmacy and is a pharmacist in downtown Bakersfield. He's been there for many years, serving the community, 40 plus years. And his work ethic and, has really been such a wonderful example to me. But also, when I was playing gigs, and I'm sure, you've had this experience too, coming up and playing gigs, the older musicians in the crowd, or in the band are always like, go to school and work hard and, music is great, but don't ever lose sight of your studies. And I think, the balance of all of that in my upbringing made me take college, seriously, which was such an amazing experience too, to be learning music on such a high level like that with people. I went to that school as the girl who was singing country in Bakersfield and honky tonk bars. So
yeah, well,
I was not.
Before we start getting into that, I just want to touch on a little bit of the beginnings. You're from Bakersfield, you're surrounded by the country music and all those type of things. But what were you listening to at home? Were your parents active country listeners? I mean, if you graduated from 2003, so you came up post 80s into the 90s. I mean, so obviously,
great music.
You grew up with the big 90s country scene.
Yeah, so I grew up, actually my first CD I bought was Mariah Carey's Music Box. So it was actually pop that I started in, and I listened to pop, when I was really little, like Madonna and everything. Yeah. I think I was, it was the third grade was really a very pivotal moment. I was at Thorner Elementary School, which was the performing arts elementary school, and they had a school play, and in the school play, there was a big, solo music performance, and I got that part, and the song was actually Home on the Range.
Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play.
When I started singing it on stage, and this is all secondhand from my mom, obviously, because I was, pretty young, she said everybody kept coming up to her after the performance and saying, she has a twang. She sounds, like Dolly Parton or, whatever kind of iconic country female that the person had in their sort of repertoire. And my mom just kind of thought weird because she, listens to Mariah Carey and, these things, but there's something innate in her voice, and being that we are in Bakersfield, maybe we should turn on the country radio station. And so from then on, I listened to country and absolutely fell in love with it.
Okay, so it wasn't something that was like forced on you. We're going to make you sing country. Like you were actually drawn to it.
No. And I mean, even to this day in Los Angeles, people will ask me about my accent, where I'm from. So it's just something, I don't think we're aware of it in Bakersfield, but there's a twang, there's a thing that we have. And so I guess it came out when I was singing without me knowing. Yeah, my parents just kind of turned on the station and I leaned into it really hard. And, you're right. The 90s, like for female country, the 90s and the early 2000s could not have been better for especially for me. You had
superstars. You had like the huge
Faith Hill,
mega
Shania. Yeah. Faith. I mean, those women were ruling the charts. They were just killing it, and they were singing interesting things and taking chances. And, of course, the pioneer women did that before them, Dolly and Loretta and, Patsy and Linda Ronstadt. But, it was just like a new resurgence. And for me, those all felt really close to where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do.
Was there one song in particular that you were really drawn to? Like, that's my song.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will say from like a sort of a modern country standpoint, anything Trisha Yearwood.
Still, I guess some things we bury are just bound to rise again. For even if the whole world has forgotten, song remembers when.
I was a pretty tiny person in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. But yet I had a really big voice and a large voice, and I wasn't really afraid of that. And Trisha Yearwood had this wonderful range. And so for me, it was a great challenge to kind of sing along with her music and practice with it and emulate those, her tonality and her phrasing, but also because the range was there. And then on the similar way, but in the more sort of classic way, Patsy Cline, Crazy, I leaned into quite a bit because it was sort of this big vocal arrangement piece, because it was almost jazz, and
crazy, I'm crazy for feeling so lonely. I'm crazy for feeling so blue.
And I think that was really fun for me too.
Were you listening to jazz singers as well, or was it, primarily pop and then country?
I was deep into country. I was into like buying the CDs, reading the liner notes. I could have at the time, if you would have said a name of a country artist, I could have told you probably what label they were on and who produced their last record. Like I was in it super deep. I really wasn't listening to much of anything else. I mean, I do remember going to school dances and things where they would play, pop music or reggaeton and having to kind of pretend like I knew what was going on. But,
especially being from the East Side.
Because I was just so, I was a little bit of an odd 12-year-old being a girl singing heartbreak honky-tonk songs and everybody else is, singing about, fun songs or, crisscross or whatever they were, into. But yeah, I was really deep into that. All my sort of other genres and things came much later in life.
When you talk to people, even from being the East Side, where it's very multi-ethnic, very Latino, you talk to them, they love country music. If you were to look at like the listening demographics of the main big, which is radio station we both know, KUZZ, if you were to look at their listenership demographics, you'd say they're probably about 65 to 75% Latino demographic. That's how big country music is here in Bakersfield. So if you thought that you were maybe just a little bit of an oddball, I bet you if you were to go into some of those homes of some of your Mexican classmates, their parents were probably listening to a lot of country music.
Well, yeah. And the funny thing is that I didn't have any friends that were in like bands per se. Like I was kind of, gigging in bands. My friends being on the East Side were in mariachi bands. And so that was kind of cool. because when I started to go and see them perform and listen to, you know, those big, beautiful mariachi songs, and you know, the vocalist holds out those notes and it resonates so loud and so great, I started to find Linda Ronstadt, and that to me was a really cool thing as well because of her sort of link in country and stuff too. So yeah, I think there was a way of finding myself in all of that, but it was such a different time to be that young and be so sort of entrenched in a genre, you know, which was more or less not cool at the time.
Although, no, but definitely, I mean, I worked at a music store at the time when like all the big ones, in Trisha Yearwood, and I mean, even some of the older artists that were still around, George Strait, I mean, there was Garth Brooks and everybody was still selling like gangbusters, Faith Hill, that was all, Tim McGraw was so huge, Dixie Chicks, I mean, who I still love the Dixie Chicks. They were so big at that time that when you would see the people who were buying that music, it was across the board. It was definitely not like, oh, well, there's a bunch of white people coming in to buy country. No. Everybody was buying country music. I mean, and still today, I mean, it's still happening like that. So that says a lot about Bakersfield. Okay, well, let's get back to you and kind of like your travels. You're doing the talent shows and everything like that. What are some of your earliest memories post elementary school and all that stuff where you started really feeling like there's a possibility I might end up pursuing this in the future? Because I know you do have some roots, some connection with Buck Owens Crystal Palace, and you have performed at the Crystal Palace. What are some of those things that brought you where you kind of started to recognize in yourself, I think I'm going to start doing this full time?
I think from a very early age, it was just kind of like, this is what I am doing. And I think that all started to unfold really clearly for me when I played with, well, first of all, I sang anthems at every single sporting event and
all the hockey games, all
of them, any sort of person that got sworn into the city council or prayer breakfast or anything, you know, God Bless America, all of that. I did all of that. And then I started to get into gigging a little bit more and doing the sort of pop-up talent things and open mics and stuff. And then Bobby Durham and Teresa Spanky really took me under their wing. And, you know, they're legends. What they do for our community and keeping music alive and taking people under their wing like they did me is just incredible. And I'm so grateful when I look back on those times. But, you know, singing with them, and I'd get up and pop up at Trout's every Sunday night and sing with them. And then, you know, they're really the ones who said, you know, we also play a different sort of venue called the Crystal Palace on Tuesdays. And I think that was they brought me into their set on the Tuesday nights at the Crystal Palace. And so then I think after sort of, you know, really honing my performance skills, my ability to command a band, my vocal technique with them, I mean, they really showed me the ropes and mentored me in a wonderful way. Then, you know, the Crystal Palace sort of was able to see what I could do. And then I started to book a couple of, you know, solo shows there on my own, which was incredibly, you know, exciting because I know a lot of famous musicians now who have never performed there. And
they've wanted to.
It's a really great honor to get in there and play. And I'm grateful that I've had that experience and, you know, hopefully get to do it again. Yeah,
well, let's go back to Trout's because you're talking about, so was Trout's like your entry into the world of honky tonks? I mean, what better place, right? Yeah. And how old were you when you took the stage there?
I had to be 12, I think.
Wow.
I think I was 12. Yeah.
Only in Bakersfield, huh?
Vern owned the bar and he was sweet, and you know, Teresa and Bobby made sure he was okay with it. And you know, my dad would, you know, the funny thing is that I went to church on Sunday night, and so I would get in the car and go to church on Sundays and go to catechism class afterwards, and then, you know, pack in the car my Wrangler jeans, my red boots, and my shirt, and change in the church bathroom into those clothes, and then get in the car. My dad would drive me to Trout's, and then I would sing at Trout's, and he would usher me in, and, you know, it was all above board. I had to sit at a table close to the stage. There could be no alcohol at my table. We were professional, and we always wanted to be that way, Vern, because I was very respectful, and my family was very respectful of Vern letting me be in there to do that. And, you know, thankfully
you're a good Catholic girl. That's nice.
But I'm so glad that he did that, because, you know, those were amazing years that I was developing my talent. And and the funny thing is you could smoke in a bar back then. So I always tell the story, people could still smoke in bars then. So I would leave the gig, drive back, and the second I got home, I had to change into my pajamas, and then I would take my smoky clothes and hang them out in the backyard on the chairs in the backyard so they could air out. But I was always too tired, because I'm a little kid. Yeah. Too tired to wash my hair the next morning to go to school. So I'd go to school and I would just reek of smoke. But my 6th grade, 7th grade teachers, I think it was 6th grade, probably 5th and 6th grade, they knew that I was what I was doing, and so they knew that's why I smelled of smoke. It wasn't like they had to have a conversation with my parents or something. But it was really that was my routine. Every Sunday, that's what I did.
What church did you go to in Bakersfield?
Well, we at that time we went to OLPH because they had the catechism classes.
Oh yeah. My mom was a catechist, so I grew up from catechism. I knew my prayers probably the moment I could speak. That's how intense my catechist mother was.
Yeah.
but the one thing about us Catholics is that we get to if we're artists, we're allowed to go to these places which are not always desirable, but that's where the music is, right? Trouts. Yeah,
it was great. Yeah, it's such a fun time and such an opportunity. I was definitely the youngest person in that bar by a long shot, and so Bobby and Teresa were there as well, and Red Simpson would sometimes pop by, and I got to play with him a couple of times, which obviously is a huge honor.
I got a star on my car and one on my chest, a gun on my hip and the right to arrest. I am the guy who's the boss on this highway, so watch what you're doing when you're driving my way. If you break the law, you'll hear from me, I know. I'm working for the state, I'm the highway patrol.
The funny thing is I was so young that there were so many people that popped up and sang that I probably didn't even know at the time, what sort of historical moment was happening. And every time Teresa was really great, sort of almost a motherly figure in that regard, where she would be like, this is a big deal, when Red would play or something. And that was always really cool. Yeah, have those people come out. Yeah,
what a place. I mean, it's really sad, the demise, and I'm sure you saw the news when it came out. How it just, it's devastating how the history of that, such a sad demise, because I think that is probably California-wise and probably across the country one of the last original honky tonks left, and it's gone. There's nothing left. There's not even, I don't think there's a brick left in that lot. It's completely cleaned out. But you were lucky to be able to perform there.
I was, and the end of an era. And, to be honest, that was the sad, I loved singing at Trouts, but the sad part about it is, I didn't get to sing at I think it was called the Cotton Club, and there was a couple other honky tonks as well.
Yeah, the Blackboard.
Blackboard, yeah. And I feel incredibly grateful, but the end of an era, and I'm sure there are people that are figuring out sort of the next spot, because that's so important to cultivating young musicians and continuing that legacy. So. Oh
yeah. So when you made the jump over to the Crystal Palace, and so is Buck Owens still alive at the time when you're over there performing?
Yeah, he was, and he wasn't obviously there for every gig, but he would poke his head in every once in a while.
Did you get to meet him and talk to him and chit chat?
I did.
There's a place down the street we call Sam's Place. It starts a jumping every evening when the sun goes down. You can always find me down at Sam's Place, for that's where the gang all hangs around.
I did, and he was always so kind, and I think there's probably a lot of people that he had been, meeting over the years. So he was very kind, always very brief as an important person around around that place. But yeah, I did get to, and I got to sing. I did get to sing Streets in Bakersfield in front of him, which was really wonderful. I think I was young enough that I wasn't intimidated or scared to do that. I just kind of did it, and that was really fun and cool. And I think we may even have a photo of that somewhere in my my stash of memories from all my playing back then.
Well, they used to do KUZZ used to do that simulcast of the Buck shows live, I believe, maybe on their AM station, because they had an AM station as well, and then also on the Channel 45 that I think Dorothy Owens broadcasting was KDOB or something like that. It was Buck station, so they used to broadcast his concerts live on the simulcast as well. My parents had their 50th wedding anniversary, so we had a dinner there, and Buck was playing. They really wanted to see Buck. That's what I'm saying. Mexicans love Buck Owens in this town. So we all went, and I remember they would do the dedication. Who was it? Kim Maccabee. You put the dedications on the piece of paper and you put it in the fishbowl. She would pull it out and she would say, and she said my parents' name and surname correct, because later on I said, she knows how to speak Spanish really well. Well, I found out that she's Latina as well.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, all right. So then Buck, he does the little joke, and he does all that, and he sings a song. He was amazing. But you would get towards the end, and sometimes the band would pull out random tunes, and they're playing like Play That Funky Music, and then there's Buck singing Play That Funky Music, White Boy, and I would just be tripping, because there was a lot of people that, I mean, even to this day, they still haven't visited the Crystal Palace. And I'm like, you have to go and see it. Yeah. You should have went when Buck Owens was around. Okay, so now that Trouts is gone, everybody that's listening, you have to make a pilgrimage to Buck Owens Crystal Palace and see that, because people like Kaylee have performed on there. I mean, I performed on there. If you could say that you performed at the Crystal Palace, consider yourself very fortunate, because the Crystal Palace does get hounded by a lot of artists that are traveling that would love to add it to their tour itinerary, and they're just like, no, I don't know what that's about. They could open it up, and it could be the House of Blues of the Central Valley if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I just feel so grateful, and it's such a cool, sort of feather in your cap to say that you've played there. But I have to second, your recommendation and say, if you haven't been, you got to go. It's a piece of not only music history, but California history as well. And there's so many cool little things there. And then the music is good. There's good music there, and support it, definitely.
Okay, so you are in college now. You've already made the jump from high school to college. You go to UCSB, you go to USC. You graduated, got your degree and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, I did go to Nashville before that. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh, no, I didn't know about this. Okay, so tell me about your Nashville experience.
Yeah, so 16, I think I was 16 or 17, I was in high school, and that's when I did the national run showcasing for labels and stuff. And, if you're familiar with sort of that country timeline, they had this big boom, as we talked about, with all these great big country artists that were selling a ton, and then after that, it kind of dropped off a bit, and they were actually getting rid of people on their rosters because they had signed so many people because of this country boom. And so I went out there. I had a couple of meetings. I had a Virgin National meeting. I had a Sony National meeting. I had a Giant National meeting to play for them to hopefully get signed. Flew out there on my spring break. We rehearsed in a hotel room, and we got cancellations from Virgin Nashville and Giant that day because they said, we're cutting our roster. She could play, but we're not signing people. So Sony said, we're also thinking of cutting our roster, but well, we'd love to have her come by. So I played and there, and it was such a great experience to showcase, for them. And we'd kind of gone to the top of the mountain at that point. But it was also one of those things where timing is, as a musician and as an artist, as in life, just in general, timing is everything. And so it just was really apparent to me that it was just like, all right, this is just not my time right now. But for me to be from Bakersfield, to get to that point of showcasing in front of labels in Nashville, to doing a demo, and a demo I cut with the Buckaroos in Buck's studio. So to have a record that I cut in the Buck Owens studio, I'm 16 years old, the Buckaroos played on it, I'm in Nashville, and I'm showcasing for labels, man, that is such an achievement. And so I really was just like, it's just not the right time, but I'm so proud of myself. I went back, everyone in my high school and my teachers were supportive and great. And then I finished high school and went off to college. And that was kind of that sort of chapter, end of that, sort of, I think, Bakersfield chapter for me.
Yeah. So so you had a little bit of a head start and you kind of got a little of a taste of it and you thought, well, this is going to be for me.
Yeah. And I just thought, okay, the timing's not right. So guess I'll, go to college, which I always wanted to do, to study music. So it was just kind of those things. If I would have got signed, I probably would have moved to Nashville right then and there, and who knows, be a different path.
Break time. We'll be back. It's the Bakotunes podcast with Matt Munoz.
When you recorded at the Bakotunes studio, the original, Korn is inside there now, but right over there on Northchester.
Yeah. So John Davis's dad was Rick actually was running the studio. Then he's a friend of our families as well, because Bakersfield's such a small town.
That's a cool studio. I recorded in there before Korn moved in there. Most of the stuff was still in there. It was a guy by the name of Nick Versillo was running it, but yeah. So you were there around that same time.
I was in there before John and Korn bought it, but when Rick was their dad was still running it for the Owens family, I think. It was called Fat Tracks at the time or something.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, still that old building, and the theater was full of all the Bucks memorabilia, so you could only poke your head in and see the stacks of stuff, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. I know that because people have said that that all the Buck stuff has been replaced with Korn's stuff. So
oh, cool.
But they're like, that theater is so amazing to see, and that's another one of those things that I wish that they would restore, at least in some fashion. But everything moves at a snail's pace. We're it's the way it happens around here. We're very laid back, and we'll get to it. Hopefully not too late. I mean, we lost Trout, so we don't want to lose anything else in this town.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I hope they do that. I think it would be wonderful. Mm-hmm. There's so many people that that would love to see it, and me included, because it's been a minute since I've been in there to see all that stuff. Yeah. So
well, I think it's fantastic that you got to say that you recorded with the Buckaroos. And you had all those experiences. So now you've done college, you've had that experience. Yep. You're in LA. What's your first move? What is your plan? Are you like, I'm going to pursue songwriting, or what are you doing? And what year was that?
So I graduated in 2007, I think, and it was right when, unfortunately, stock market crashed. We went into a recession. So being a creative was a really hard place to be, just because everybody was a little down on their luck. So for me, I think I had a bunch of musician friends from college, and I kind of got back to what I knew, which was gigging, and we formed a collective, a band called Still Waters Run Deep, a bunch of people that liked playing roots music and folk music and country music and bluegrass music. And we would play, we had a standing residency. I just saw some of these guys recently, which was cool. But we had a standing residency at Mully Malone's on Fairfax. Yeah. It was kind of the same thing. You show up and you play the gig, and you got your rehearsal on a certain night, and and it had a feel of what I knew from growing up, which was great. And I had a community of musicians that I relied on, and we played different tunes, and I sang on different things. And then, we'd play a lot of covers, but we'd start to sneak in some originals. And so I think that's when I started to really start performing my songs. When I was in Bakersfield, I wasn't really writing. I mean, I was always writing, but not like confidently in the sense of like, I'm a songwriter and I can perform my own songs. So I think it was really college where I started to use that skill and perform my songs. And that band was a great opportunity to do that, because I had such a great support system of additional musicians and creatives.
So you jumped right into the whole roots music thing, or did you, it's always been like that, or were you doing rock as well, or, anything else?
I studied jazz at USC, and that's what I kind of got my degree in. You could go classical or jazz, and I went jazz. And when you're graduating as a senior, you have to do what they call a jury.
Yeah.
So that's where you're supposed to perform. Yeah, I'm sure you've done this before.
No. But tell the listeners, because I'm not expecting everybody to know.
So when you graduate from a music school, you do what they call a jury, which is like a performance. You do a performance of your skills that you've learned in front of a panel of, teachers or the dean or whoever. And it's sort of like you've got to pass these, sort of performance skills or technique skills in order to get your degree, what you've been working towards. And it's a place to showcase that. And so my senior jury, which is like your final exam, but for musicians, it's where you get to actually play. My jazz voice teacher at the time was so cool, and she got that I was from Bakersfield and I wanted to sing country music. And not that I didn't love jazz, I loved jazz and I loved learning it. It was so challenging, but in such a good way. And I applied those skills to my writing and to country music, and to this day. But she knew that was where my heart was. And so when we decided on the jury of my performance, she said, here's the tunes you have to do for, to pass. Here's your jazz tunes that you got to do. But why don't you play one or two of your songs too? And I did. And my senior jury we booked a venue on La Brea. That was kind of part of it too. You had to play out somewhere. And I played my jazz tunes, and I had my band and my jazz musicians who are still good friends to this day. And we played my tunes, and people came up afterwards, friends, faculty people, and all of them said, you did a really great job, but your songs, that's where you really shone. That's, we could tell. And it was just like, really, that's why I think, to your point about like, did I sing anything else? Like, that's when I kind of was really validated, this is who I am. This is where I come from. This is what I'm most happiest in. And so I think then I found some more people within USC who, some of them weren't even music students. They were just people that came from areas that, like, you all get sort of dumped into downtown Los Angeles, and you come from all sorts of places and you play all sorts of music. And so it was cool that we gravitated towards each other. And then that's why we started that band, which allowed us to sort of explore music together, because we couldn't get a gig on the Sunset Strip. There's no way the Viper Room was going to book us. You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't so we had to figure it out and find a place and create our own sort of scene, I guess, which was cool.
You're talking about Malone's, Molly Malone's.
Molly Malone.
And I remember like the Cantors had the Kibitz Room, and I think that's coming back now. Did you ever perform over there?
I didn't, but that's, Guns N' Roses got started over there. So,
Kibitz Room and all those kind of open mic, open stage places like, and were they all country friendly?
Not so much. I mean, you kind of had to figure out a way to finagle in and kind of be in like a folk, there's a minute where it was like folk rock was really big. So it's like if you could slide in the folk rock lane, which, I think in various parts of my evolution as a musician, I lean, I was in a band after Still Waters, Run Deep, with a couple guys in that band called Quail, and we were much more folk rock leaning.
It sounds like a folk rock band. Quail.
Yeah. with the stomp, the stomp clap sort of vibe. This is like the Mumford and Sons, right before Mumford and Sons was a thing. And so I think, that was kind of a way to slide in. We could like lean a little heavy on the drums in those sets, and maybe not hire the mandolin player for that one, but then bring the mandolin player back. You gotta make it work. You're playing this. I mean, the thing is, music is, a lot of it's the same instrumentation. It's just how you present it. So, and if you can open people's minds to it, that's the goal. Get some fans that are on the edge that don't even know that they like what you're doing, like your genre yet. You know. So,
and there's a lot of the LA music students. Like if you go to like Cal Arts students or any sort of performing arts conservatory students. I mean, everybody's is so much into everything, but when they focus in, if they're a musician who focuses on a particular style, they always turn out to be so good. I mean, there's just a wealth of talent, and you're right in the middle of it, and you're amongst your peers. You're young, you got these ambitions and everything like that. What was your day job?
At the time, I was
working retail somewhere, or
No,
Serving tables?
I was I was working at Sony Music, I think, at the time. Because part of it too was, I have a degree and I want to learn as much about the business side of music as I can. I heard so many horror stories from, even some of our friends who played music in Bakersfield that signed some terrible deal with a manager or someone told them that they were going to, get, their publishing to something and then they never got the rights to it or realized it was registered to somebody else so I had heard all those stories. So it was really important to me now that I had a degree to learn that part of it. So I was working at Sony at the time. And the funny thing is I was still writing and doing music and performing gigs, all of that, leading a double life. Because at that time if you were a musician, you were a musician. If you were on the business side, you're on the business side. It was a very black and white division between that. The creatives were on one side, the business people were on the other. And I just didn't really subscribe to that, but I also knew that you kind of had to be leading a double life in that regard. And the funny thing is that a musician that I met at USC, a composer named Austin Wintory, got one of his first bigger films, and he asked if I would come in and write a song with him for the end title of the movie, because he didn't really have a lot of songwriting experience, but he had a composition, gig, but he had talked to them about having a song included. And so we thought, why don't we work together on it and come up with something cool? We did. And we wrote something for this film called A Little Help, which the lead actress in it was Jenna Fisher from The Office. And it was her breakout, sort of dramatic, role.
I saw it. It's kind of sad. It has
it's very sad.
It's kind of a sad movie.
But she had to do that to kind of try and break out of that, being typecast.
Oh, no, she's fantastic. She's fantastic. I'm just talking about the film. Just it's serious. It's some serious topics. It's kind of depressing.
Yeah, warning to the listeners. That's not a Saturday afternoon watch. Yeah, for sure.
But of course the music. I looked up the soundtrack and Jakob Dylan is involved in it. Now, where does he come into the mix on this?
Well, so this is the funny thing. So I wrote this song with Austin for the end title, and I'm not a signed musician. I can do that. Also, I'm an employee at Sony, but I'm not signed to Sony as an artist or a writer. And the funny thing is we started working on it. I wrote the end title to the song, and then I'm not thinking anything of it. Austin's working on it, and I'm like, cool, let me know if it happens or whatever. And so the movie's going to happen. The song's going to come out. I'm talking with Austin. And he goes, also Jakob Dylan wrote some songs for this film. And I said, really? That's cool. But Jakob signed to Sony. He was like, what? And I was like, I work at Sony. He signed to Sony. I don't know that they know that he's writing these songs. And so the funny thing is that Austin then called me later, and I found out at work that because he had written these songs for the film and it was part of his contract, that then Sony had to put out the soundtrack for the film. But little known fact was, there was a song in the film that their coordinator wrote and is singing on.
Oh, yes.
So I was on a soundtrack album that my company put out while I was working there as an artist with Jakob Dylan. And it was totally above board. It wasn't me that sort of went around. It was kind of a fun thing that Jakob Dylan went around them, and in a weird way, I got the sort of benefit of it.
Did you get in trouble? Did you get lectured or written up?
No, I mean, technically, it wasn't in my, whatever. I didn't even have a contract at the time, you're a coordinator. But it wasn't in my, employee,
you didn't, there was no conflict of interest or anything like that, or none of that stuff. Well, that's cool.
No.
Your first official, writing credit, big time writing credit?
Yeah, soundtrack release and writing credit. And they had a whole premiere that I got to go to on the Sony Pictures lot. They did a film release in Seattle, and it was really cool. And, there was a couple people at Sony that even, Sony Music does tons of soundtracks and tons of records. So, it wasn't like I was like the talk of the office. It was like a blip on the radar. But it was, for me, being a small town girl and being a coordinator, it was a pretty cool moment. And that was an awesome time. And then it got nominated for by the Hollywood Music and Media Awards for Best Song for Original, Best Original Song for Film. So That was really cool. Yeah.
I
What year was that?
Oh boy.
Hold on, let me look it up. Hold on a second.
2010?
2011.
It was close. 2011.
Very close.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was your first break. That's a really good first break.
Yeah.
It beats playing in Malone's every week, smelling beer and smelling like cigarettes at Trout's, right?
Yeah. Getting to do the red carpet at Sony Pictures was pretty cool. And the funny thing is, I had to work a full day at work. And so then I went down and bought a dress off the rack. And, I think I went to the makeup counter at the Bloomingdale's and had them do my makeup. And, I didn't have a team doing my hair or a PR person or a press agent or a red carpet handler. I was just me. And and the next day I went back to Sony and worked a desk job, and that was like, but I was on cloud nine in my head. It was so cool.
How were your folks when you told them the news?
Oh, delighted. I mean, just delighted. So excited. And, for them, that couldn't have been cooler. I think they just loved it. They're so supportive of all of that stuff. So, but I did warn them it's a downer movie. They're
like, here, just listen to the soundtrack with the sound off.
Yeah. So,
well, that's very cool. So did Sony even have a country music division at the time?
Well, that was when, now it's a little bit different, but Sony, country was only through Nashville. So, that's also why I don't think it was they didn't really even care that I had a song on a film that they ended up putting out the soundtrack for, because, I was doing country and they didn't. In LA, and the LA label was like, yeah, we don't. That's a Nashville thing. We don't do that.
Oh, I gotcha. Is there a country music station in Los Angeles anymore that's solely dedicated to country, like a terrestrial station?
I think there might be one in Orange County, and then it just depends on if you can get it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, it's like a community station or something like that. But I remember when you used to be able to drive on Sunset, and there would be one of the big buildings, and you would see that it maybe had some of the call letters of the station, and it would have all the big pictures of I remember seeing a big picture of the Dixie Chicks, and it would have Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, and then all of a sudden they're gone. But I think that was kind of after when streaming starts taking over and radio stations start going away. But then also people's taste, country, like you said, country music got so big there for a while. And then it just kind of fell out a little bit of favor. However, it's always had an audience, of course, as we see now. I mean,
totally.
Country music is back in a big way, although different sounding. I'm sure, the sounds of country music have even changed, even within the past 10 years. What we assume to be country or label as country music, I don't even know. And you'd probably be better at that to say, well, that's country and that's not country. But let's talk about LA, the LA scene. You did that project. Now, you've been playing with some musicians for a while. Where does Mr. John Spiker come into the picture?
Oh, John. Let's see. I did, a record with a band, Quail, and we had a manager, and we put out a record, and, we were playing all the hip, sort of folk rock scene. So all of a sudden now, because I wasn't playing straight ahead country and bluegrass and roots music, because I was kind of on this folk indie rock side of it, I got to play, the Silver Lake Lounge and the Bootleg and the Satellite and Spaceland and, all these
cool places. All those cool places.
Yeah.
I miss Spaceland. I remember I've been to Spaceland a few times when it was at that kind of peak.
Yeah, really. So I got to play, I played the LA circuit when I was in that band, which was cool. And, a lot of those spaces aren't around anymore post-COVID, which is sad. But, I really got to do all of that.
Who are some of your peers, some of the other bands that maybe my listeners might know?
I'm still really good friends with them, but Honey was a band that, I became friends with and we opened for, which was really cool. The Mowgli's, actually. I don't know if people remember them. So, we opened for them at I don't know if it was called the Satellite or Spaceland at the time, because they changed over names, but we opened for them when they were very small, and I think maybe not even signed yet.
They actually played here at the Gate here in Bakersfield once.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So the Mowgli's and so Mowgli's. Am I saying it right? Mowgli's.
Yeah, I think so. And they were great. And I'm sure there were so many, but I just like, at the time everybody's hustling, doing their thing, keeping their head down, like doing their set, like, oh, great, I see this person here, this person there. And then like, you have no idea what ends up happening down the line. But those were some really fun, great times, And then there was also, some bands that, were headlining and maybe thought that they were going to take off and they didn't go anywhere. And somebody that you thought was small and had an opening gig ended up totally taking off. So it was such an interesting, cool time to play and be in that scene. And so anyway, so I did that. And, that band we started to all want to do our own solo things. And I wanted to do my own solo record. And I had songs that I had written that didn't fit with the band and that, I wanted to do on my own and, vice versa with some of the guys in the band. And so Chris Carlson, who was a co-writer, collaborator of mine, we were working on the record together. He actually produced it. It was my first solo record called Happy Now. He introduced me to John Spiker and John Koneski of Tenacious D and had them play on some of my stuff. And I kind of got to know them and play with them. And, they're two Ohio boys. So like we nerd out on like 90s and early 2000s country, like nerd out like hardcore. And, they're just, when you find your people, it's really cool. There's just like a moment. And so, Chris and I co-wrote and did that record. And then when it came to do the next one, I had asked John, would you ever want to produce, my stuff, because he played on it. You've played with me live. And he said yes. And so that was kind of a beginning of that creative relationship there. And Spiker produced The Winner and helped kind of, I kind of already had a sound of what I knew it was going for. I think he just was able to like elevate it and bring out those ideas more than I could. Mm-hmm. And, and then his level of musicianship and expertise. I mean, he is the best. Like, he is the absolute best. He's an incredible musician, incredible bass player, mixer, recording engineer, producer. He's also the nicest guy you've ever met. I don't know if I'm like blowing up his hardcore edge, maybe persona.
Well, he played in the D. He played in the D, so he's got to be cool.
Yeah, he's but he's that's the thing about that band is those guys are the nicest guys you've ever met. And they're the nicest guys because they're really, really good. Yeah. They're really good. They're not a fake messing around band. They are hardcore musicians.
Does he also do Trainwreck as well?
He does Trainwreck too. Yeah. I got to play with Trainwreck at the brewery.
At Temblor. Yeah, I remember that. Temblor Brewery. Yeah, you came over. I missed that show, but I remember that. Yeah, I remember I saw Train. I must have saw them about 3 or 4 times over at Fish Lips downtown. And I don't know, he may have been playing with them at the time.
Oh, he was. He was definitely playing with them. Yeah. Because I think we've all talked about that. Yeah. But anyways, so John and I, we worked on that record. And there is something about when we work together, it just clicks really well. And I don't know if it's the fact that, he is from Ohio and kind of gets the Bakersfield thing. Like, he gets where I'm from and what I'm trying to do. And it's just like, we never, ever feel like we're reaching to do something that's expected. It's always just allowing things to be organic and cool. And we feed off each other. And we have, luckily through John, he brings the most amazing musicians to the table, that I get to play with and become my friends. And it's just a really wonderful synergy, a creative relationship. He's fantastic. I really can't say more about how great of a musician and a collaborator he is.
Oh, I believe you. Now let's take a break. I want to play a little bit of The Winner because I love that EP. When you said The Winner.
Oh, thank you.
Do you consider that like your official debut, or do you consider the previous EP? Because to me, I feel, because I've listened to them all, and I feel like by the time you got to The Winner, now you've found the Celeigh Chapman sound. Like, this is you.
Yeah, I think so. I think we just took it to the level that we needed to. I mean, I think the songs on Happy Now are really great and they're there, but John just really took the production and the just like the sonic identity to the level that I think we were wanting it to be at. So
let's play a little bit of The Winner right now.
Everybody says I'm the winner. Yeah, I got out ahead. But why do I feel like the loser instead? And if I am the winner, then why can't I gloat or brag? Hoist the golden trophy way up over my head. When I didn't give up, no, I didn't give in, and I never walked away. Yeah, I hate to boast, but it's hard when I loved the most.
I love The Winner. You know, when you look up these EPs on like Spotify or Apple or wherever, and you know, sometimes they pick the songs that are the choice tunes, and they always like, well, who was in charge of picking, like putting the stars? Because sometimes they get the song, they'll just pick maybe one tune off the entire album, like this is the song you should be listening to. But I mean, it's an EP. Every song on there is really good. I love that's a great representation of you. I listened. That stayed in rotation for a long time. When I remember the first time I'd interview you was around that time when that came out. And then of course another song which we want to play. It's neck and neck for my two favorite songs on there, which is California. I love that song. Love the video. I mean, it has all those elements of all those things. And when you're talking about when John Spiker kind of helps you get that sound, you said he came from Ohio into California. When I listen to that, it reminds me of kind of that Laurel Canyon country sound, very coastal sounding, West Coast country, not traditional country in a traditional sense like Bakersfield Sound or anything like that, but like that Linda Ronstadt, Troubadour, Eagles. You know, it has all that really cool stuff that I dig. That song right there, to me, I was like, this is such a hit. This is such a hit. And you know, let's play a little bit of that so we'll get our listeners to know what I'm talking about. This is California.
California, you're the only one who's always been around. Never left me high and dry or turned the cheek the other side. You've always gave me light in my darkest nights. And I don't want to leave you, California. Say everything will work out soon. Say there'll never be anyone but me for you and you for me. Then I won't turn the key.
So everybody listening, you should as soon as after we're done with this interview, you should go over there and you should download that EP because it is really, really good. The Winner, every single song on that. And that's from 2017. That was then. Yeah. You know, it only gets better over time. So you've been recording, you've developed this relationship with John Spiker, and then you also did, you know, you've done kind of like some little projects here and there. I remember you also did a Christmas tune, a Dolly Christmas tune, which is also fantastic. What was that about? Touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so, you know, I mentioned him before, but John Koneski, who's also in Tenacious D, he's the lead guitarist there. He has another band called Winchester, and they play, you know, such great music. Again, great musicians, him and Michael Bray. And, you know, we became close, I think, sitting in the circle of playing, you know, country music, you know, and having a love for it. And so I think we were just kicking around maybe in the backyard at John's house, or, at one point talking about songs that we love and songs we'd love to cover. And, I don't even remember how it came up, but I just said, if you ever want to do, Hard Candy Christmas, like I would do it. I'm down. Like, it's one of those things you just kind of like put on the table. And John Koneski called me at one point and was like, we're going to do it. Like, we want to do it. You want to record the song, and we'll just be Winchester and you do the lead vocal on it. And I immediately said yes. And we recorded it. John Spiker recorded it in his studio. And then we shot the video for it in, I think, between, Cones' house and maybe a couple other places, maybe the studio as well. Yeah, it was just this beautiful. I love that song. And that song, actually, I don't know if you noticed this, but that song gets played at Christmas time in Bakersfield all the time. And it's one of my most favorite Christmas songs.
I'll be just fine and dandy. Lord, it's like a hard candy Christmas. I'm barely getting through tomorrow, but still I won't let sorrow bring me way down. I'll be fine and dandy. Lord, it's like a hard candy Christmas.
I'm so glad that we recorded it, that now I have a cover of it that I can keep, and it's, one of my mom's favorite Christmas songs as well.
That's what I was going to say. I bet your mom loved that, didn't she? I love the fact that Dolly Parton is, she's going through another one of those runs where people are giving her props. I mean, she's going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, well-deserved, regardless of what the critics say, but one of the all-time greatest songwriters of all time. Coat of Many Colors. I mean, she has so many songs where you listen to them and you just want to cry as soon as they come on.
Yeah. And she's, a writer, a singer, a businesswoman, a performer, a guitar player, and multi-instrumentalist. I mean, she is not a lazy woman. Yeah. She is quite, she works really hard, and she's got talent to boot. But yeah, we did that song, and again, it was great to have that, for me to sing a Dolly song, because I do just respect her and look up to her so much. But also, the tie there was that song is a Bakersfield memory for me. And also, a lot of people early on said, to me, like, oh, you should sing more Dolly Parton. You have a similar tone to her or something. So it was a cool opportunity. And then again, obviously to work with John Spiker and John Koneski, anytime those guys want to call me and say, can you jump into the studio and sing this, or can you come and be in this music video or write on this? I'm like, what time do I need to be there? Like, I just, those guys, they're such great musicians, great people. And so it was one of those things. It was like a call, and I was more than happy to do it. And now it exists forever, which is so cool. Yeah. I love it.
No, absolutely. Now let's get to the present. Now your latest EP, Easy Now. Let's talk about that. When was it released?
So May 13th of 2022. I had released one single off of it. So the first track I released, I think, in May of 20 maybe. And that was in the beginning-ish of the pandemic. And I just, we had been recording these songs and working on them, and the plan was to put them out. And when the pandemic hit, I just kind of stopped, it halted everything. And that was the song that was done, actually. And so I thought, well, if I put this out, then we'll put it out, and it'll like lead into putting out the next single, and then maybe the EP after that, and or maybe we have time to do a whole album. Like, I don't know, but like we'll put out this song and then see how things go. I mean, little did we know, 2 years later, like we'd be still sitting in a pandemic. That's why that song came out, kind of so early.
What was the name of the first single? Was it
Not Fooling Me?
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that one. It has the black cover. Is that the black and white cover?
Yeah.
What's it like with you hitting the clouds? Are you still living in that runaround? Getting off when you sound profound really used to leave me weak. And you told me you needed room to breathe, and I was so full of negativity. Well, I hope the truth will set you free, 'cause you're not fooling me.
It's so strange to realize that, oh my gosh, it's been 2 years. We've been in this pandemic for 2.5 years and so many great projects. Are you happy that you put the pause on it, or how are you feeling about all this?
I feel good about it. I mean, the interesting thing is that I released that song thinking that the rest would come shortly after. Obviously, out of my control, what is going on in the world and everything. But I just really didn't want to. I wanted to wait and give it a space. I felt like there was a lot of people releasing stuff or doing live streams and, doing what they needed to do. And I felt like waiting was what I wanted to do. But then, it started to get push come to shove. It started to get a little bit antsy. And I just, when things started to open up, I just told myself 2022, it's coming out. It has to come out. And the interesting thing too is John and I a couple of times would get back into the studio, revisit, talk about it, listen to mixes all throughout that time, safely, of course. And nothing sounded stale. Nothing sounded old. Everything sounded exciting and fresh every time we opened up the sessions. Mm-hmm. And I think for us, that was a sign that said, great, then we can just roll with this when we're ready to roll with it.
You don't have to go back and re-record everything. Everybody's senses and the way they absorbed and listened to things just were put on pause because, like you said, everybody had other emotional things to worry about, and it wasn't always listening to music. When you listen to it, it was just, you just kind of picked up where you left off, right? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I also think that like I wanted people to absorb the songs in a way. I mean, I wrote them in a headspace pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. So I wanted people to absorb them in a headspace that wasn't sort of consumed or sort of altered by the present state of what was going on. I mean, not to say that you want everyone to forget what's going on. I wanted everyone to be present in that moment, but I felt like the music wasn't part of that moment, if that makes sense. It was created pre that moment, and it needed to exist in a world where we had sort of moved past that moment as much as we possibly could, or from a music listening, absorption, enjoyment perspective. And so that's why I think I was like, let's wait until we can, have some, fun again and enjoy it and listen to music and be, in a different space mentally. And I think it was the right time because I definitely have people now that say like, I drove off the coast and I listened to it and it was the perfect driving, windows down, like listening to music. And that's what I wanted.
Well, speaking of driving, when I was looking at your EPK and I loved this quote. With attention to what she calls movement and motion, Celeigh is often inspired by her long drive times across Los Angeles for making music worthy of your car stereo. So you just said that. If you were taking a cruise through LA, what section of LA would match listening to Easy Now in the car?
Oh, for me, I mean, I'm a Californian, through and through. So 101, take that 101 and take it as far north as you can get up the coast. That for me is where you would listen to it.
I was looking at some of the credits that you have on here. You have Joshua Ray Gooch, who played with Shania Twain, Adam Tressler, like you said, and played with Amy Mann, Kacey Musgraves, Kyle Fair, played with Best Coast, and of course John Spiker. There's some really great players. Is this kind of like your dream team of musicians that you would love to continue recording with?
Yeah, this is definitely a dream pinch me team. I mean, if you told me at 13 years old when I got off stage at Trout's that I would be putting out a record with Shania Twain's guitar player on it, I would have said, get out of town, you're lying, no way. Or that the guys in Tenacious D would be working on records with you and producing your music. I feel very, very lucky to be in the company of such amazing musicians. I'm lucky that when they're all in town, I get to play live with them. We just played the LA County Fair and Kyle was able to come and drum, and Chris Carlson, he wrote Too Much Sunshine with me.
I watch you wade out with the tide, the new horizon in your eyes. You thought you knew how deep, but you couldn't see your feet. It was offshore winds and 3 to 5. Too much sunshine makes a desert. Too much rain will cause a flood. It wasn't right to stay together, but giving up's not in my blood. Oh no, oh no.
he flew in from Nashville and played, and then John jumped on bass. So it was a dream team live as well. I guess the benefit of being in LA is that you've got a rotating cast of pretty intense, cool players that you can draw from.
Los Angeles, it moves so fast, and everybody, you have to think about working, depending on what your situation is. Some people have to have 2 or 3 jobs to pay the rent in Los Angeles, and then you also want to pursue like the things that you really want to do, like, music or art, or be creative. How do you kind of do that balance? Because here in Bakersfield, we have the luxury of being just kind of like, we get to take our time here. There's a lot of the spoils of being in the Central Valley and moving in a city of this size with close proximity to LA, but you can kind of pursue certain things in Bakersfield, and you can stack things up if you want and still get to bed by 9 p.m. But you're in LA and you're doing all these things. How do you know that what you're doing, because there's so many people that are like you that are pursuing a lot of the same things, so many talented people. How do you gauge what people are noticing about the work that you do? Because like when I listen to it, like I said, oh, this is fantastic. And I'm to myself, I'm like, she should already be out there on all these huge festivals. I mean, she should be doing, because I was looking at that, I'm like, one of these days, I've got to see Celeigh Chapman. I should have already be see Celeigh Chapman on some of these huge festivals. I'm like, this is unbelievable. And some of the company that you're sharing with in the studio, and they're doing their thing. But I'm like, it just kind of take me into that world of what it's like to be somebody with your level of talent. And I'm sure, and you are a very humble person, and I know this. How do you know about the level of impact that you're making in a scene so deep and so diverse as, Los Angeles, and not just the country scene, but just like music scene in general?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And to be totally cards on the table, honest, it's an emotional and mental roller coaster. And I think that comes with anybody, who's chasing a dream and chasing a creative, path. There's some days when you're just like, I got a call from so-and-so, and I'm going to do this, and this person it's all happening. And then everything falls through or things change. And, and then you got to get back up on the horse and try again and keep going and keep doing it. And it's definitely not for the faint of heart. I mean, you have to continue to work hard. You have to silence the noise in your head, which basically says to you, how come I didn't get this opportunity that so-and-so got? And, I'm working 10 times as hard, or, whatever it is. And you just have to kind of come to a place of knowing that everybody has their path, and everybody has a time and a moment and a place. And it's like, even just talking to you now, I forget about, the fact that I've had a soundtrack come out on a major motion picture on a major label. Like, I totally forgot about that. And I could be, crying a river tomorrow if I wanted to. But, when you look at the work that you've done and the achievements you have to take stock in them and then use that energy to fuel yourself to keep going. I think the beauty of being where I am now, I wrestled with the idea of, is this my path? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing, when something didn't happen for me, at a certain point? I think being in the place that I am right now in my life, I can confidently say that, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is who I am. And I'm so fortunate because the signs of the people that are signing up to work with me and to make music with me and to be part of my story are people that constantly assure me that I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm on the right path.
I think you have another winner. No pun intended. Pun intended. You have another winner with this great EP, Easy Now. Are you planning on going on tour?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of things brewing, I think, on the coast, maybe Santa Barbara and Ojai in the summertime. The other thing I was talking about, I play with all these great musicians, but a lot of them have been waiting to go on tour. And so now they're off on tours. So it's going to be about sort of wrangling some people back in. But, and maybe a local show. I would love to do that. Nothing in the works currently, but hopefully, and then, probably something local at Hotel Cafe or something soon. So
maybe Bakersfield.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. I'd love to.
You have to bless the brewery or one of the places. There's not that many places to play in town, but Crystal Palace is open again, so maybe we can get you a show at the Crystal Palace.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to. I played there pre-pandemic when they did a really cool Bakersfield Sound, book release, and Yeah, and I jumped up on stage there, so that was great to see.
But you need your own show. You deserve your own show. Okay, I know. See, they're very humble. It's because we've come to this humble Bakersfield town. No, it's time. It's time. Anybody listening out there, if you have not heard any of the works that Celeigh has done, go out there and listen. The new EP, Easy Now, is a great place to start. However, you can go back and I guarantee you're going to like everything that she's released. You know, it's one of those things where I'm just waiting for that. Something's got to give. I would talk to some friends, talented friends. Something's got to give. It's got to happen because there's just too much talent and one person to hold. The company that you've held in the studio, they're lucky to have you. And I'm so glad that we actually got to speak because most of the time it's been the print interviews. But now that I've transferred back into podcasting, you know, we could have some more conversations. We can have maybe when you're the next time I interview you, you're going to be, getting ready to take the Opry stage or something like that. Don't forget about me.
Yeah, that would be great.
Don't forget about me.
Of course not. and I, of course not, Matt. You've been along for the ride and so supportive this entire time. But I have a question for you. You told me there was a couple of your songs were your favorites, and I'm just curious which ones you're digging on the new EP.
When you said Not Fooling Me, I had listened to that single because I remember when you had just released it. But I really like the last one because
with the pedal steel.
Yes, I like the last one because I like that little country sound. I love when you tap into that. You definitely have a contemporary sound, but I love when you're able to tap into that because as you said, and you were talking about some of your jazz training, it comes off in a lot of the way you sing, and I could definitely tell now that even in the past. Because you're talking about the time between The Winner and Easy Now. I mean, that's 5 years. You've obviously continued to work and continue to hone your craft, that your voice has matured to a level that it's, it just continues to get better. You can tell. I mean, if everybody was to go back and listen to the song From a Little Help to the present, I mean, I don't want to say night and day, but it's because night and day would say that you were just a novice back then, but you were already very well developed as a singer at that time. But now it's another level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I would say I think it's a confidence thing. Like I think that was always there, but I didn't know. I think I was just like unsure how people would receive me and my sound and maybe what I was doing. And I think this record, I think The Winner, we were like there, and then like on the Easy Now, it was like I just was like, yeah, this is what I do and this is who I am. Period. Like here it is. So
no, the name of the song, Every Time We Say Goodbye.
Every time we say goodbye, I think that we're not coming back. That all the things we said and did will end somewhere in the past. But that lonely call so strong, it catches me by surprise. And then here you come again, saying hello and goodbye. Every bone in my body knows there's nothing left to salvage. That all these feelings that might hang around will only cause more damage. I trusted time was kind and would help me to forget, so that even if I looked, there'd be no heartache in my chest.
yeah.
That's it. Beautiful tune, beautiful tune. And you wrote all these songs. These are all your tunes.
I wrote all of them. Yeah. I had a couple of co-writers, but all of them are me. Yeah.
What would be the kind of like a dream scenario, like a dream project that you would like to do? Would it be for somebody else to cover one of your songs, or like if somebody famous, like a legendary artist, to cover one of your tunes, or would you like to do a duet with somebody?
Oh man.
Or both.
Yeah. I mean, let's shoot for the moon, Matt. Let's not limit ourselves here. I think both. But when we were doing The Winner, there were a couple of songs on there that I think I was like, man, if Leanne Womack cut this song, like this is like just like her voice on one of my songs. I think I was just like, she would kill it if she could cut one of my songs. Or, John and I have been gone down a Jody Messina path, and it was just like, man, if Jody Messina cut, Easy Now, like how cool would that be? I think anything would be cool. I'd love to cover somebody's song, and if that was, a hit because it was, a different type of sound or something, that would be cool. A duet would be great. Somebody cutting my song. I mean, I'm up for all of it because I just love music. I love doing it. I love being creative and collaborative, and yeah, it's really exciting. And I think these songs, they've got stories, and I think people are drawn to them, and I hope that they continue to unravel and people find them and have a connection to them.
But first and foremost, your voice is up there with the greats.
Thank you.
Before anybody else starts covering your tunes, you need to be recognized that these are your tunes and this is your voice, because you are a fantastic artist. I'm so happy that you were to be here on the Bakotunes podcast. Now, before we get going, where can people keep up with you?
Yeah, so I'd say, socials are the best place to follow. So Instagram and Facebook, always. I'm going to be updating everything there as far as like news, and then pointing you obviously to iTunes and Spotify and everything. But it's just my name, Celeigh Chapman, Chapman, on both Facebook and Instagram. I'd say start there, and then we're going to get the website up and running, which will be CaleighChapman.com as well. So all that stuff will be there. But I feel like if they need to know anything, they should just hit you up, because you always know what's going on in my world.
Yeah, I'll point you in the right direction. Just hit me up. Yeah. Matt Munoz, Matto Munoz on all the platforms. I'll make sure you find Caleigh. Any shout outs before we take off?
I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been on this road with me. I mean, everybody from my elementary school music teachers to my high school friends who sat and came to my shows, and my parents, obviously, who just worked tirelessly to, provide me the opportunities that I have today and be supportive. Just want to say that music is such a big part of our history as Bakersfield. So go to the shows, support those local musicians, keep that energy alive, because for me, it was the thing that has taken me to where I am today. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be doing what I am today. So definitely go hang out, meet those local musicians, go to the shows, buy the CDs, and support where you can. It means so much. That's my soapbox, and I'll step off now.
Well, thank you so much, Caleigh. We wish you the best of luck. This is Caleigh Chapman, and you just heard it right here on the Bakotunes podcast.
The Bakotunes podcast with Matt Munoz. New episodes every week. And for the latest, be sure to follow us at Bakotunes on Instagram and Twitter. That's BAKOTUNES. And be sure to like us, rate us, comment at us, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back next time.